Hey everybody, it's me, the Real KBC, and it's been a while since I've made a video, so today I'm just gonna do a simpler video. Nothing too big, just, the type of videos that I would usually do, where I discuss a specific topic that I am interested in. And today I want to talk about how nostalgia can sometimes be a good thing, but other times it can be a bad thing. Well, more specifically, how nostalgia can, I think, sometimes poison discussions. And by poison, I mean, make discussions worse. Because I feel like way too many people rely way too heavily on nostalgia. Like the entertainment industry and people who are fans of the media from the entertainment industry. And I oftentimes feel like nostalgia just, more oftentimes than not, makes discussions, not necessarily bad, just, sometimes, maybe a little monotonous. It's just people saying the same thing over and over again, and it becomes kind of boring, and there's kind of no real point to it, and it's just people looking back at the past with rose-tinted glasses, and not wanting to acknowledge the fact that there was bad stuff in the past too. And this is one of the things that has always interested me with nostalgia. Because, yeah, again, nostalgia can be really good when it's used sparingly, when it's used right. When it's not necessarily used for a cheap cash grab and so on. Or, exploiting people. But I really do feel like, just in general, just way too many people just look back at the past with rose-tinted glasses, and, they love to act like the past is the best thing ever, and in reality, it really wasn't. Like, obviously the past wasn't perfect, it never was, and there's just too many people, in my opinion, who act like that it is. I guess you could say I kind of have a complicated relationship with nostalgia in that regard. Because I don't hate nostalgia. I really don't. But I like it when it's used right. And I like it whenever people don't just bring up the past and over-glorify it and put it on a pedestal. Because there were tons of bad things that happened in the past as well. And I feel like people more often than not just tend to forget that the past had bad things as well. Sometimes they don't. There are a good amount of people that do remember the fact that, well, the past wasn't perfect. It had its flaws, clearly, and we don't know what those flaws are until we get older and actually learn about them, Because when you're a kid, everything is different, right? You will remember the bad stuff, sure, but you won't always. And that is interesting, too, because it depends on the person. Because some people remember the bad stuff more than others. Some people remember the good stuff more than others. But from frequent discussions I've heard, way too many people, in my opinion, they just act like the past was, just the only time to ever be alive. Or the only time that anyone should really care about. Which, no, it's not. I feel like way too many people just act like everything modern is the worst thing ever. When in reality, there's nuances to everything. Sometimes modern stuff is good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's just, okay. That's just how it is. And way too many people, in my opinion, just overglorify the past, and it just dilutes discussions, It makes them less nuanced. It makes them far less interesting to engage in, because it's like, again, it's just people just letting the nostalgia dictate what the media that they think is perfect. But it was perfect in the past, and nowadays it's not. Which, in my opinion, is just another just more lazier way to say you don't like the stuff that's coming out now. Because, well, it's not from the past. And sure, it's fine if you don't like something from a specific IP that you used to like in the past, but I don't really think that you should be saying that it was way better in the past all the time. Again, that's just nostalgia clouding your judgment, because chances are it wasn't, perfect in the past either. It had its issues, but you overlooked them because you're being clouded by your nostalgia. And this happens way too often in most discussions, and it gets really annoying. Like, to the point where it's like, oh my god, is the past all you people care about? Is that all you people can talk about? Because you seem to overglorify it to an alarming degree, and I'm not about it. It's so annoying. It's one of the most annoying things, in my honest opinion, when people just overglorify the past and just bash the modern era and act like nothing from modern times is good, despite the fact that there actually are some really good things about the modern era that people do tend to overlook all the time, which is also annoying. Like, people just love to hate modern times, man. They just love to overglorify the past and love to hate on modern stuff, despite the fact that, well, not everything modern is necessarily bad, it's just not for you. Some of it is, some of it isn't. And that's another problem that I have. It's just that people just can't say, well, personally, it wasn't just for me. Sorry. Personally, it just wasn't for me, you know? I mean, if it's for other people, that's fine, but personally, it's not for me. So, yeah. I don't think you should necessarily trash something and say, oh, it's bad now just because you don't like it. Maybe that is not for you personally, and other people may like it, because to them, maybe it's just cool. And it has nothing to do with the fact that it's, you know, a new thing from an old IP that you like. So, yeah. It's a very interesting thing to, in my opinion, witness when, you know, people just can't accept when something just isn't for them. Personally, not everything is going to grab you, and that's fine, but don't just act like everything now is the worst thing ever, right? Just because you don't like it, that doesn't mean other people can't or shouldn't. You shouldn't attack people for like something that you don't to begin with. That's incredibly petty, and you're probably a petty person if you do that. And by probably, I mean, no, you are a petty person if you do that. Never do that. But yeah. People should be able to like whatever they like. But I do think people need to stop over-glorifying the past and actually start seeing the good in modern stuff. I understand that modern times are very complicated, but not everything is bad about the modern day. There is good stuff that people just love to overlook because they're blinded by the nostalgia. And don't tell me they aren't. They clearly are. It's been shown multiple times that there are so many people that just get blinded by the nostalgia on a daily basis. You can't say they don't exist, because they do. It may not seem like there's many of them, and yeah, maybe there aren't like that many of them, but there's enough of them at the very least to where this just becomes a reoccurring annoyance. And now it's just a huge complicated mess, right? But yeah, it's just a complicated mess, and in my opinion, whenever people talk about, you know, the past being the best thing ever, it just makes discussions more annoying. It just makes them less interesting. It makes me not want to engage in any discussions. Because, like, oh, you're one of those people, right? Alright, I'm just gonna stay away from you now. Not that I hate those people, it's just that I find them very annoying. I don't think they're bad people, it's just that I think they're blinded by the past. They're blinded by the nostalgia, because it's very clear that they are. Yeah. I do think there are more nuanced discussions to be had, and I do think we should talk about the past, both the good and the bad, and the same thing goes for the modern era. Talk about the good and talk about the bad. Don't just talk about the bad all the time and never talk about the good. Way too many people do that, by the way. Way too many people talk about the bad of the modern era and never actually talk about the good, and they act like it doesn't exist, when it in fact does. And not enough people tend to talk about the bad stuff about the past half the time. Right, but there are people out there that do talk about both the good and the bad of the past and the good and the bad of modern times. And those people, honestly, I think they're cool. They're cool for doing that because it's pretty obvious that they're not necessarily super biased towards the past, but they're not biased towards modern times either. So, yeah, I like that. Yeah. That's, yeah. Honestly, that's all I have. Yeah. If you like what I had to say, please say so in the comment section. If you agree or disagree with me, please say so in the comment section. Also say why you disagree with me or why you agree with me in the comment section, and so on. As per usual, I'm going to be making a community post of this, and yeah. If you want more of me, then you know exactly what to do. I won't hold your hand through the process. This has been the Real King of BC. Have a nice day, people.